Sorry, guys. We were testing something beforehand. Yes, it was secret behind the scenes discussions about the fact that if we move very slowly, it's less choppy, but only slightly less so. But we're max headrooming a little bit today, and it should be all right. We're still waiting for Chicago to come on board. Fingers crossed. We're 2 minutes to air. Do they have an issue? Is there? I don't see them. All right.
Try sending Devin a Facebook.
Yeah, send him a message and see what's up. Just so you know. Usually I always feel like I'm lagging when I'm on 10 minutes beforehand. 10-month subiversary. Couldn't have gotten through without the Motang clan. Oh, shoot me up. Thank you so much for your 10-month subiversary, which sounds subversive, but isn't, but sort of is. Maybe? I don't know. It was at one point. It was certainly against the power structure at one point, but now not so much. Yeah. So, yeah, there's okay, we're not too choppy. There's a little bit of like jaggedness to it, but it's not driving me crazy. Hopefully it won't drift too much. There may be moments where it gets a little wonky, but for the most part right now, and it may have something to do with just the massive amount of like computer power I'm using, because I always have the referential pages open to check my stuff. Let's see. All right, everybody. Yeah, it seems all right. And then audio's on for everybody now. They should be fine. Some people are coming in a little late, so.
It doesn't show that Devin has seen my message, so I don't know what's up.
Well, all right. We'll just we'll ride it through, and they'll pop on at the last second and go, guys, sorry, studio caught fire. Let's see. Yeah. I'll check my phone just to make sure. See if they. I mean, I don't mind doing this would be kind of an adventure, just doing a Johnny Million show. You know what I mean? Where we don't really have to worry about the the curse words or the Kiss music cul-de-sacs.
True.
Yeah. It's kind of almost back to the Ustream days. But yeah, no message from them yet. So hopefully Chicago. Yep, I'm linked up with them, so we'll see. They'll pop on and go 30 seconds. What is happening? Yeah, maybe something's down. It's hard to say. This is how I find out I've been canceled.
Right.
Which would be ironic considering they've been asking me to go daily.
Let me see if I can find them. Which one are they on? Are they on radio.com or TuneIn?
Newsweb.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. Something like that.
I'll just go to their site, see what it sounds like.
CPT is still in ads. Okay, so they may have a computer
Dr.
issue.
Amy Harris.
Hey, there they are.
Sundays at 10 a.m. WCPT 820.
Hey, Al, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm here. Paul, I guess, is going to be late, but I'm going to play you in, okay?
No
Is that
problem.
Cool, boss?
Yeah, totally. Go for it. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Container,
Yeah.
the J. Donald and Laurel Lee Family
I hear you.
Foundation Fund, and
We're all
delivering
good.
jobs to create a more inclusive
good.
workforce in the U.S.
Let's go. All right, let's go.
Yeah, no
Cool,
problem.
man.
Or
All
business.
right, yeah. It's scrambling and all that. But I got you, boss. I'm going to play the new intro and whatnot in
Fear not.
5 seconds.
Or
Excellent.
visit autismspeaks.org/employment.
Furnished by the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's so much to cover today. Johnny Million's on the show with us. Chat room's flying. We're at infotainmentwars.com. We're hooked up on Chicago. Everything seems to be working. I hope so. Fingers crossed. We'll be okay. I have to admit something to you, Johnny Million. I used to have respect for Russia as a criminal endeavor. I was kind of impressed. I mean, not so much on the quality of their work, because spritzing poison in someone's face in a park or poisoning their food is very Blofeld. It's very, Yeah, it's very mid 70s James Bondish kind of stuff.
Bond villain. Yeah.
But it had sort of a sense of murderous class about it, right? It had kind of like the intrigue, the kind of stuff of a Columbo episode, something you could respect. And
they have to commit to a vibe to do something like that.
That's right.
This is where we're headed.
They managed during the Trump years to plant listening devices all over the White House, allegedly, while they were just visiting, while Trump was having a big chuck-a-luck with them. Sitting there, the old head thrown back laughter photos with him and Sergei Lavrov, adorable. And then, of course, we know that Vladimir Putin, who may or may not be in declining mental health, who, in the history of great Russian leaders, since there have been reports about him having some sort of illness, he may have been dead for the last 6 months, for all we know, because that's how things used to work in the old Soviet Union. That was a lovely part of it, right? But he, as much as he's having, issues currently, he had at least, his thumb on Trump in a way that, he could make him kind of give him that palm up handshake that he gave him every time. Trump would shake hands like his hand was a dog rolling over to get its belly scratched. It's super weird. Just so you're wondering, if you're a world leader within the sound of my voice, when you shake hands with someone, evenly reach out with your hand with you want the bottom of your hand to be parallel with the ground, not the back of your hand or the palm of your hand necessarily. It's old school primate domination rules, and you want to go into it evenly. Otherwise, it's not a handshake. It's a recognition that someone has a pee-pee tape. So over the course of I would say the rise of Putinism, they've really They really found their groove, and not just on the vagrant kind of baseline quality standards, but also in their bang for the buck. For spending so little and getting so much, no one can beat the Russians. Yeah, over the last little bit, because I tweeted last week, and it was definitely in reference to some stuff I'd been reading about their strategy over the last couple of years. But I was saying that if I were a GRU agent and I was on quota, I'd been tasked with a job, one of the things, what I would obviously do is take two of the biggest political forces in a country, the two biggest political parties in a country, create a lot of fake accounts supporting the most radical on either side. So it artificially inflating the fringes of either side. And then, for lack of a better radio-friendly word, I would crap post on their behalf back and forth, basically creating an artificial digital civil war all the time. And then I would pop some popcorn and sit back and watch the show, because it's that easy. It really is. And that's exactly the strategy. They were while the Russians were absolutely building pro-Trump sites and arranging for events in Florida where they were going to hire a Hillary Clinton impersonator even. They were literally getting to the groundwork part of it, but creating Facebook posts and Facebook events and Facebook pages that supported Donald Trump. They were also creating fake BLM posts, fake Antifa posts, and they were, jacking those things up. And in an equal measure, right? That's the thing. That's the one thing that was kind of missed, on people, is that what you do is because the Russians weren't interested in electing Donald Trump because they liked Donald Trump, because they supported Donald Trump, because they thought he was actually, good for their interests in the country. They had given up. It was like, it's like if a guy was going to steal your car, but just didn't have he didn't know how to pull the wires and clip them and reattach them. And so he just decided, you know what? If I can't have your car, I just don't want you driving your car, and just knife the tires. That's what it was. You know what I mean? That's the fallback position. This is the chaos as a political strategy, right? Just make democracy look like crap, fall back into that position, and go for it. Okay, so that was then. This is now. now they're having to, out in the open, arrest Alexei Navalny as he's coming off a plane, put him in jail like some old Middle Eastern dictatorship from the mid-'80s. Nowhere near the bow-tied class of what they we're to assume. By the way, all this is said in jest, so get ready. So, but now they've just decided to drop all the pretense and go for smash and grab. Now it is literally, there's no well thought out bank robbery scheme. There's no strategery at all, in the immortal words of George W. Bush. There is simply wreckage. So after the pipeline ransomware attack we dealt with, where the right-wing talking points came from it, that somehow ransomware attacks didn't happen during Trump, which they did. A lot of them, actually. And the Biden administration put together a ransomware task force after they got into office that recovered money from this group that attacked the pipeline. Again, it slowed gas production on the East Coast for a time, driving prices up, and the right wing was more than happy to say this is just the 70s all over again. This is OPEC. This is the end of, this is $5 a liter gasoline or whatever. And and it's not. Now it's just summer prices, and we're kind of back to abnormal. We have reports this morning of a ransomware attack on a software managing company that hits 200 companies. A successful ransomware attack on a single company has spread to at least 200 organizations, according to cybersecurity firm Huntress Labs, making it one of the single largest criminal ransomware sprees in history. It's a smash and grab. They don't necessarily think they're going to get all this stuff. They're just freezing up anything associated with this one particular thing, and then they're going to extort each individual company based on this particular single company's software that they were all using. The attack, first revealed Friday afternoon, is believed to be affiliated with the prolific ransomware gang Rebel, as in evil, revolutionary evil, and perpetrated through Kaseya, an international company that remotely controls programs for companies that in turn manage internet services for businesses. So this is a company, a multinational corporation that controls software. Folks, this level of redundancy versus cost in your cybersecurity and email and whatever the main control software that you're using for your business is not worth it. It ain't. Whatever you're saving, you're going to lose later. There's eventually going to be a ransomware knock at your door. And either back up your stuff, be able to turn the whole thing off and turn it back on, or use a company that's close to home that has quality controls that you can respect, instead of bouncing it like a VPN through 3 different companies. Welcome to my TED Talk. Kaseya announced Friday afternoon it was attacked by hackers and warned all its customers to immediately stop using its service. Nearly 40 of its customers were hacked, Kaseya said late Friday night. Since those Kaseya customers manage hundreds of thousands of businesses, it is unclear how many will fall victim to ransomware over the weekend. By the way, these are not just U.S. businesses. It's worldwide. So before we start taking it personally, rest assured, this is the spread of Kaseya's cyber weaknesses goes through multiple countries, and where they're getting the money back will be stories over the next couple of weeks. But the number is at least around 200, said John Hammond, a senior security researcher at Huntress, which is helping with Kaseya's response. That number is expected to rise. The timing, just ahead of the 4th of July weekend, is unlikely a coincidence. They're doing this, by the way, so that more people will be on vacation. So if you have anybody there and they're like, wow, something's weird, all the techs and your IT people will more than likely be on vacation. So they've got a day ahead of you before you can start pulling stuff down, shutting things off, and that kind of stuff. This is going to become a relative norm, and this is one of the areas where the Congress cannot drag its feet. And the Biden administration has come in and said, we got some red lines. This does not cross any of those red lines that in the list that Biden handed to Putin. And we don't know what the direct linkage will be or is. to the Russian government right now in terms of, Fuzzy Bear and Cozy Bear and Fozzie Bear and, Leather Bear. And I don't know what group they put in charge of all this, but over time, this is beyond the fact that this is an annoyance. There will be elements of ransomware stuff that is directly dangerous to human life. That will, some of it will be edging on an act of war if it leads back to other governments, not just the Russian government, but their alliances with Iran and North Korea and that kind of stuff. As they start to dwindle, they're going to start to, like a drowning man, grab at people as they go down to try and get whatever lift they can. As we deal with this, there will be elements of this that are crucially, damaging to our infrastructure if we're not careful, and we do have to protect against this. But the other aspect of this is that it's a sign of the dwindling influence of Russia over time, that this is low-end money grabs, much of which is not on the league of money that they would need to keep themselves afloat in those other, and considering the amount of money they're allegedly having, this is really nuisance money that they're trying to attack these companies to undermine their bottom line, not to really gain the money themselves. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this because there's a section of highway shut down in Massachusetts right now, which should make right-wingers feel slightly better. I'll explain in a second.
I'm going to look at that news.
Mm-hmm.
They claim to not recognize laws.
Well, yes, they're fun.
That's
So,
funny.
hold on. Apparently, and these people see themselves as Moroccans, not, and that America is an offshoot of Morocco. It's very strange. It's fun. Don't get me. Let me see. That's the Daily Mail. Yeah, I'll send you this one too. I mean, this is it's. Hi chat room. Hi everybody. It's opened up now. They're arrested them. Yeah, okay.
Energy in this city
Just
that
finishing
we all
up.
love. From celebrating its diverse culture to savoring all its flavors,
that's-
the DC Public Service Commission is
Okay, I was like, where's that coming from? It's like this news story.
Back in 20 seconds.
Excellent.
Yeah. They took off into a wooded area where 2 men have been arrested.
Yeah, and they've gotten. Apparently, they busted a lot more of them.
Attention, attention, stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
The important thing is that they know the name. Now, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe at infotainmentwars.com. That's or if you're more in the Twitch-leaning world, you can go to twitch.tv/HalSparks, or you can get there really quickly by going to fwank.com, FWANQ.com. I grabbed it before Mike Pillow could. So, I don't know if you listen carefully, if you put if you use a glass up against the hotel wall, or you find a shell laying in, I don't know, the middle of the highway, you hold it up to that sound you will be hearing is the sound of right-wing talking points dying. We've been hearing these things keel over for the last 3 weeks. They had them, man. Remember, hey, the border was a disaster. Millions of people were storming across the border. There's no way to, and now, yeah. Lumber prices. Hey, come on. Lumber is out of control until it drops 40% in a single day, and then 30% the next day to a 70%, to lower than they were to pandemic prices. But okay, you know, like all these stack up. So one of the big ones besides woke is a woke attack. Oh no, critical race theory woke attack, right? That's the other one. That's the new gay marriage, by the way, just in case you're keeping score.
Oh yeah.
They got there's a big leaderboard like the John Wick assassination pool where they just slide it out of the way and put that name up there. Like, all right, let's get all right. Move over, Tea Party. We got to put this slide this in. So, one of the big talking points, of course, is that they're trying to give white people a bad name. The Biden administration is just anti-white, and one of the ways they're pushing it is because the allegedly, if you listen to Dan Bongino or Don Jr. or Tucker Carlson, who, by the way, dropped his whole NSA spying thing in 24 hours, that came and went, right? I mean, and by the way, my theory...
Wait, when did I miss the whole thing?
Oh, yeah. That's how small it was. 2 days of Tucker Carlson is being spied on by the NSA, and the NSA tweeting back, yeah, we don't care about Tucker Carlson. And people going, but it could have been. And then that's it. Basically, Glenn Greenwald ends up on Jimmy Dore going, it totally is happening. And it's not happening. But that my theory is that there are some awful emails between Tucker Carlson and his former head writer, the guy who was writing anti-Semitic, anti-gay, anti-black stuff on websites under a pseudonym, got fired when it was discovered. And there's some emails between him and his ex-buddy, who he can't not have known was running that account and posting those kind of things because they talked all the time. He was his head writer, crafted all of his opening monologues with him. They were together all the time. There's no way that if Brad Giori, bless his heart, great guy and great writer, who was my head writer on Talk Soup, there is no way in the amount of time he and I hung out throwing jokes back and forth at each other that if he was a secret white nationalist, I would not have spotted a couple of jokes coming my way and gone, wait a minute, back up. What was that thing about the Rothschilds you wanted to put it? You know what I mean? Like it would have come up, right? There's just no way. So my guess is that there's a bunch of NSA, that there's a bunch of emails between him and this dude, and he's going to blame the NSA for hacking his emails because somebody at Fox News or something is going to leak them eventually because they can't stand him and that, no, run-of-the-mill, your circle turning on you stuff, and he's going to blame it on the NSA, right? So. Anyways, so one of the big talking points that they've been addressing lately is that Joe Biden and Merrick Garland and everybody thinks that white nationalists, white supremacists are the biggest threat to America. This is the phrase you'll hear. They're the biggest threat. That's the biggest threat. Not Al-Qaeda, not ISIS, not foreign terrorists, but white supremacy, militia groups and other groups are the biggest threat to America. And they will play clips without irony where Merrick Garland, Joe Biden, others have said that white supremacists represent the biggest racial superiority domestic terror threats currently. Which is a big subcategory of domestic terror threats, right? I mean, beyond lone wolf actors, Syrian separatist cell groups operating in, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't know. Like, there's all these subgroups that they deal with. But the biggest one by volume is white supremacist militia groups. In this subcategory of subcategories, that's the biggest one we're talking about in terms of... And that is also the group that brought us the likes of Timothy McVeigh. So when they do strike, it's a big deal. And it's not so much that they're the ones running around gunning people down, it's that they're the ones planning for something big.
Yeah.
And so the ones that are running around gunning people down and causing a lot of trouble are noisy, easy to arrest. They are dangerous, but they're dangerous to smaller groups of people overall. But the Timothy McVeighs of the world are a big concern because, U-Haul truck fertilizer bomb, much bigger problem than random open carry guy who decides today's the day, right? And while that guy is a threat, he's on the list, but he's like 6th because he's by himself and he's not talking on WhatsApp with members of the former Trump administration. That, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why, right? So, that now, what they keep missing, granted, it becomes like the world's shortest NBA player or the world's tallest giant or whatever, like the subcategory of subcategories. That while white supremacist militia groups are the number one racial superiority domestic terrorist threat in the United States currently, they're not alone. And number 3 is black supremacist groups. Interestingly enough, there's a secondary, I think it's like there's white supremacy, and then there's what would be like the Western chauvinist kind of Proud Boys groups, which technically include Hispanics and black people, so they technically can't be racial superiority groups, even though the upper echelon might be the end game Charles Manson style, the whole yeah, right. So there's 3 categories. The third one is black supremacist groups. And it's for the longest time, it's been the black Hebrew Israelites who, if you've never seen them, if you've ever been to Philadelphia, sometimes you'll see them on the corner with yelling at Jews and screaming anti-gay epithets at people, wearing what looks like cosplay nativity last-minute costumes. Like, I had no idea this was a nativity party. I ran by Party City and got some tablecloths, and I just whipped this together. I hope it's okay. And so they stand out there just saying awful, and they're they've been linked to other more violent things. Like one of the black Hebrew Israelites is the guy who shot 2 Jews in I think it was in Brooklyn or the Bronx. I confuse my New York boroughs. Last year, or maybe 18 months ago. But that story, remember, he walked in and it was, it was just kind of a random shooting. That guy, he was with that group. He was also, they were also the group that were talking to the Covington Catholic kids with the Nathan Phillips drumming thing, right? And Nathan Phillips assumed that because it was white kids with red hats on, that they were obviously the instigators, and that these dudes who were screaming anti-gay, anti-Catholic, anti-religious epithets at these kids, that it was an imbalanced thing. Clearly the red hats were the sign, whatever. Anyway, so that kind of back and forth. So they were the top worry in a lot of ways. They've been brushed aside by another group, and we're already at the break. We got to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you about the new group and how they actually have a lot of similarities with some of the fringe white supremacist group. If only they could get along, they could actually be real trouble.
Right? They could get some real things done.
Yes, right. I mean, can't they all just not get along with everyone else together? All right, we'll be back.
Exactly. More hands make less work.
That's right. We'll be back.
Did you hear Chicago that time?
It came in later. Yeah, I did not hear.
Oh, okay.
Anything else from them, but yeah. It took a second. But that's because my timing on these things is not even after all these years. Let's see. Do you have tablecloths? Yeah, that's the party. Oh, look, they can talk to each other on Twitch now. That's fun. They can reference it. That's fun. 9 women in 1 month does not a baby make. What?
What?
More hands make less work unless you're a manicurist. Good point, Amoeba Stampede. Excellent point.
I like it.
Aha.
I was finding the loophole.
Where's the spoon? Aha. So. Taste the soup. What? Taste the soup. Sir, if there's something wrong with your soup, I'll get you some soup. Taste the soup. Sir, I don't want to taste your soup. If you would like, I can get you something else. Taste the soup. Sir, I can get you a new bowl of soup, or is there something wrong with it? Taste the soup. All right, give me a spoon. Aha. Aha.
I remember you did that with an old man Snapchat filter one time.
That's right. It's fun. Aha. So yeah, all right. And this is like, why is this? Yeah. So these guys are so fun. They're holding up the Moroccan flag, and you know what I don't know what the rules were. I was saying this on the air, but do you ever see the Tall Guy Jeff Goldblum movie?
20 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Did you ever see it, Johnny?
I don't know.
It's awesome.
I don't know if I have.
He plays second banana to Rowan Atkinson in his show. He plays this white, a British show. American dude plays the non-speaking part in this two-banger play. I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm still...
The Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And it ends with me am I a wrestler? Like that music while going, ready to rumble. I don't know what that is. It's so funny. So, and I'm still offended by the...
You're just dancing.
Yeah, totally, yeah. Mother! I got the hair right now, sort of. Although mine's longer now. It's technically, it's well past that, that length. So I feel good. So we were talking during the break, and I didn't get quite to it, but the... I don't even know how to get into this. It's so weird. All right. So a couple of weeks, maybe last week? Yeah. So last week, there's this story that comes across my news feed that's super fun. Now, I've been watching with some level of bemusement since the Bundy clan got a lot of news for not wanting to have to pay for grazing rights on land everyone shares for grazing that the government owns.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the kind of tacit sovereign citizen movement that floats around, like I said, this is your lone wolf actors. This is these weird, low-end natural-born killers, couples that seem to drive all around the country with no plates on their car, going, this is my country. I've declared my car the kingdom of Swareria, and I am its queen, right? Ma'am, get out of the car, please. You have an open container, and there's a needle in your arm. I'm concerned, right? I have the right to do whatever. All right, so that's that group, or lack of group, I don't quite know how you gather together in a sovereign gathering of non-sovereign citizens. If all of you are each and of themselves their own country, it's very weird. So
I wonder if you do it with those. Have you ever seen those team building beach ball things?
Yeah.
You get inside and you've got
everybody runs
this
inside
big cushion globe around you.
Right. Yeah. And everybody race to the bridge and back. Okay, I'm gonna fall down.
Trying to knock each other silly.
Yeah. Everybody gets 1 week at the timeshare. So so there was this story that came out about this woman's house that was seized by this couple that just claimed it as their own. Now it's this woman's house. She was not home at the time. And because of, I think maybe because of COVID, she was staying at her other house, whatever it is. But this couple just seized her house and claimed it as property of Morocco, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So
I'm waiting for the weird part.
Yeah, what's that? So a U-Haul truck shows up at this house. They start loading their furniture in, and they put a sign in the window claiming that the house now belongs to them, and they changed the locks. So the police had to break the locks to get in. These folks, the couple claimed rights to a mansion for sale in Rock Creek Park earlier in the same month. So they're basically going around and claiming properties. If no one's in them at the time, they just say, this is it. Hang a Moroccan flag in the window, say it's ours. It's now sovereign land. And that's it. Okay, so weird story. Needless to say, they got arrested and goodbye, right? Okay. But these folks, They were charged with misdemeanor unlawful entry and released pending a court date, and were ordered to stay away from the home. They failed to appear for the court date from the last house. After the latest incident, the judge ordered them held without bail in jail. They are again charged with unlawful entry, but also face failure to appear in court charges. Owner of the home near Rock Creek Park said prosecutors are planning to add more serious charges when the couple appears before a judge next week. A similar incident took place in 2013 when Lamont Butler moved into a vacant mansion in Bethesda, Maryland. He said his religious beliefs as a member of the Moorish nation entitled him to the home. The police disagreed. Moorish American nationals believe black Americans are descendants of an ancient Moroccan empire. Most members are law-abiding citizens, but a splinter group believes their ancestors were here before. That's called the Rise of the Moors. That's the splinter group, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just to clarify.
Every time I hear the Moors, I think of American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Or the Moors.
Or the Hound of the Baskervilles, something along those lines.
Sure.
Or some lines from True Romance. So, if you know what I mean. Today, some people are under misconception and erroneous notion that the Moorish Science Temple.
Dennis Hopper.
Yes, right. Well, no, it was Christopher Walken. Get on the receiving end.
On the receiving end.
Yes. Today, some people are under the misconception and erroneous notion that the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., which is good, I'm glad it's incorporated, is a place where one can learn how to forego their civic duty of paying taxes, obtain their straw man, and assert their so-called sovereignty, etc. The Moorish Science Temple of America said in a January statement in July 2015, "We assertively declare that the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. is no form or fashion a sovereign citizen movement or a tax protester movement. Consequently, our teachings are diametrically opposed to that ideology," except when they ain't, because if you go to the site, it's actually, it does cost you $50 to apply to join. And your skin color is necessary to that. So it has to be a private organization. You have to pay to join so that they don't get caught in this problem where you have a bunch of like odd white supremacists joining just to mess with the whole thing. Right?
I'm still interested. Keep going.
I'm
still listening.
And I looked up how to sign up for it. Anyways, so this morning there's this standoff in the Massachusetts highway where two cars are pulled over on the side of the road with their hazards on, pouring gas into their gas tanks from containers that they had, and a police officer pulled over and said, "Can I help you?" And all of them were dressed in fatigues and carrying long rifles. And he was like, "Oh, hi, where are you guys going? What you doing?" And they said, "We don't have to tell you." And a bunch of them ran off into the bushes. So, which is not...
Do we know why they had to stop and gas up with their hazards on?
Yes, we do.
Did they want attention?
No, because they didn't want attention, interestingly enough. They didn't want to stop at gas stations because they were trying to avoid as many stops.
To be seen by the cameras.
Yes, because they were going to a place to quote-unquote train. Now, again, this is where it gets into the part where concern comes in, because this gets into the militia planning for a Oklahoma city building zone. That's where it becomes worrisome. Now, all these guys had to do, this is how it reads. The group says on their website they're dedicated to, quote, educating new Moors and influencing our elders. In YouTube videos of the incident, they claim they're only traveling peacefully to their, quote, private land to camp and train. Their private land, by the way, because of their website, could be anyone's house. So that's a little weird. But according to Massachusetts State Police, troopers saw two cars side of the road, 2 a.m., hazards on, attempting to add gas to their tanks. Officers stopped to assist, said they were wearing military gear, had a lot of guns, asked for driver's licenses. Gun licenses, men allegedly refused to provide any and refused to put down their weapons. Trooper called for backup. Some of the men fled, and then they live streamed the whole thing, and then they shut down the street, and then they held up flags and whatever. Okay. Let's just be abundantly clear. All religious beliefs aside, this is a conspiratorial group of dum-dums who have gone rogue in their own rogue group. So there's a sub-rogue third-tier group of roguishness going on in this roguiness that is right up there with the Bundys pointing sniper rifles at federal cops, thinking they have a right to graze on public land that everyone pays taxes to maintain, so that grazing land doesn't get overgrazed, so that everybody's cattle doesn't die, because that was the problem that was without a solution a long time ago, and we came up with one. The amazing thing about all this, and the sovereign citizens, and the wish we could go back to a kind of Wild West mentality that the Republicans party has currently, that things were simpler. Well, yeah, when things were simpler, a lot more people got killed randomly.
Yeah.
Lynching was the law of the land. And as your freedoms freedom until, and simple until it ain't. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's simple until a small war breaks out that nobody else is participating in. Because that's the biggest concern with these militia groups, with the Moorish groups, with the Black Hebrew Israelites, with the Aryan Nation, with the Ku Klux Klan, with any of these, subgroups that believe in this kind of, hyper-individual freedom, that the Constitution exists to create this perfect individual freedom that is somehow devoid of responsibility to the laws that also exist in the Constitution, like everybody else's freedom not to catch a stray bullet by some lunatic playing war in the woods with their buddies. I don't need a hunting license. I just, and if you're, I believe orange, my religion tells me orange vests are a perfect target. Like that, at a certain point, buzz off is the only answer, and that's what a lot of these folks are experiencing in court. And they get a buzz off first, and then the second or third time they try it, they end up in jail, and they're like, I don't believe this jail is real. Enjoy being the sovereigns. You are a sovereign.
Yeah, how does that work after a while?
Yeah, the kingdom of A146297 prisoners out. You are the king of your own clothes. Congratulations. But the ever-growing rise of groups like this within the context of believing that they can be their own citizens beyond, that they can create their own reservations like they're indigenous Americans spontaneously in any house, hotel, gas station they incur. So every place they view as a fallback position is lunacy. But like the sovereign citizen movement that you see, a lot of these folks, when pushed to their absolute, now tell me what happens after this happens. Then what happens if you get pulled over? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't do anything. Well, you can't block a freeway, so what if they push your car out of the way? Well, I have a gun for that. Like that, it always ends up in someone shooting cops or soldiers and trying to water the tree of liberty with
that is
hatred.
Always the end game. And I've got this gun because I will protect myself against this tyrannical government or run into the woods.
Right. And the tyranny of the government is, we really should license people who are behind the wheel of a 6,000 pound device that can go 110 miles an hour. That's the tyranny that they're fighting against. That we got to know that you took a class and you know what you're doing before you get out on the highway with everyone. You want to drive it around your own property in a circle? Knock yourself out. You know what I mean? You don't need a license for an ATV on private property. Go for it. But you can't drive it on the highway, dum-dum. So these folks, there's a big concern with those folks, and I want to explain how there's my talking about the kind of Russian smash and grab stuff and the ties to this kind of conspiratorial nonsense and the flood of this on the internet bloviating these idiots into thinking on all sides of this that somehow they have ground that is theirs never to cede under the envelope of the pure American, which is really, really crazy. Is based on largely folding fiction. Like the Turner Diaries drove Timothy McVeigh to do what he did. There's a similar thing that the Moorish sovereign citizens believe that comes from a fiction novel in the 60s. We got to take a break. When I come back, I want to mention this, and then I want to recognize this is how far it goes into that realm. And if it wasn't for the availability of weapons everywhere and the ease of it, this wouldn't be a point of concern. This would have been people smoking pot in the 60s, talking to each other across a table, trying to figure out how to make a pipe bomb and doing themselves in. But it's a different game now. We'll be back. I thought the Amish were for buttons, Maureen, but against zippers. God stopped at buttons is the, Amish t-shirt screen printing is completely Jesus-y, so it's okay. So I don't know why they're not selling, no zippers around here. I wonder how they feel about Velcro. Came after zippers, invented by the military and NASA, right?
Yeah, NASA.
Yeah, obviously the great Velcro plot. Okay, so maybe I'm the only person who found this fascinating, but I gotta find this. Hold on, because I started reading it during the. Where'd it go? Yeah, I've got it. Hold on. So, Google King Alfred Plan right now.
You're asking me to Google King Alfred Plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this is, I used to have this joke in my act. That's true, Brad. Velcro is very cool because it was inspired by birds in nature. Bill Burr, actually. Think about buying a gun. Comedy trumpet.
Oh, wow.
What are you doing?
I don't like this at all.
No, you don't. But there's a lot of similarities. The plot on this is fantastic. Like, this sounds like something Rachel would talk about at the beginning if it wasn't too, maybe uncomfortable a conversation. But it is, the Amish do not use buttons? I thought they did. Oh, they tie stuff together? They anti-buttons and anti-zipper? I think that sounds like a fetish to me. I don't know. I just like it when you tug on the string. You know what I mean? Like, buttons get in the way.
The line runs up the back of this.
That's right. Yeah.
Coming back in 15.
Thanks. No, don't take them off. Take them off. Leave them on. King Alfred in a can. It's very close. All right. I read this article in the New Yorker.
This is Damien Perdue of Think Theory Radio. Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I thought there was going to be like a new one every break. I was so excited.
You want more, Hal? We'll give you more. Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. Hoo-yah!
Yeah, that works. I like it. That there's a keeper. Okay, so this is I'm going to channel my inner Rachel Maddow for this or whatever. In 1968,
do it.
The African-American novelist John A. Williams published his third novel, The Man Who Cried I Am. By the way, last three letters of the words in the title are CIA, just saying. The Man Who Cried I Am, a bitter, beautiful, and feverish depiction of the failed promises of the Civil Rights era. The novel, which was a bestseller and went through 6 printings, narrates the lives of 2 writers, one of whom, Max Reddick, is a journalist whose career path resembled Williams' own. So he's basically, think of this as sort of the Black Fountainhead in some ways. Like, he's writing kind of an Ayn Randian novel for to some degree, the Black segregationist movement post-60s. They didn't like the fact that the Civil Rights era had actually had some wins in it, and it was a movement towards the reconciliation and people coming together. They were they were upset about anti-miscegenation laws being overturned, so that black and white people could be married, or people of different races could be married in the country, specifically that way. So, anyways, so the novel's other central character is this character, Harry Ames. He's a celebrated black American writer of social protest fiction who so closely resembled Richard Wright that the lawyers at Little, which is the publishing company, Little Brown, expressed some concerns that the author's estate would sue. Man, hold on. Open back up. Crazy. Now, as Williams recalled it, he lost the fellowship after... Okay, so there was... The Man Who Cried I Am is a novel about the kind of paranoia that proves to be entirely justified, a theme that culminates in its penultimate chapter in which Harry, living in self-imposed exile in Paris, dies under suspicious circumstances. Before his death, we learn that he recently discovered a briefcase containing, quote, the King Alfred Plan. And anybody who watches Alex Jones can see the white supremacist movement, the Turner Diaries movement, the like the seeds of this kind of like, there's really this thing. I don't know. There's a plan. We found these papers, and they in this briefcase. That kind of story, which were written about in something else, but end up somebody types them up from a novel, and then they end up looking like real stuff, getting presented as real evidence in somebody else's book, which is also referenced in a second book, and then somebody's like, this has to be real, even though the original source is fiction, right? We've seen this a dozen times on Alex Jones. This is just a new version of it, right? So the King Alfred Plan was a series of leaked documents in the book, fictional leaked documents, outlining the measures the U.S. government would adopt if the racial unrest and discord of the mid-1960s turned into civil war. So if there was a black uprising, is the theory. An emergency that would involve all, quote, all 22 million members of the minority. The minority has adopted an almost military posture to gain its objectives, which are not clear to most Americans, which is in this fake plan is what the CIA is thinking about minorities in the preparation of the fake plan that they're not actually thinking at the time. Right. So, like, it gets really weird when you read about the reading of it because it sounds like they're referencing real stuff, you know, but this is dead on Alex Jones-ish kind of things, you know. It is expected, therefore, that those objectives are denied the majority, to deny the minority. Racial war must be considered inevitable, that the black people are going to rise up the minute you don't let them have sovereign citizen territory or whatever it is. The plan, which was named after the first Anglo-Saxon king of England, because that's how the CIA works, of course, detailed how the government would terminate once and for all the minority threat to the whole American society and indeed, quote, free the world. So Nazi-level, Goebbels-type ultimate solution, wiping out all black people in the United States. This is the King Alfred Plan in this thing. In the first draft of the novel, Williams unveiled the Alfred Plan in what his editor, Harry Science, described as a James Bondish note. There was just a note in there about the King Alfred. Well, this is what it would be. And he found it in the briefcase, among other stuff. His editor said, well, that's not believable. Nobody's going to buy this. So he said it wasn't quite convincing. The reader has to feel it could be true, so he had him go draft up what the actual plan would be. And so he wrote up 6 fake pages to this thing and inserted them in the novel as this is what was found. Right? So Williams designed 6 pages to imitate classified government documents, which included a memo from the National Security Council rationalizing the plan, a crude map from the Department of Interior highlighting the regions where the minority would be detained, and a bullet-pointed timetable from the Secretary of Defense outlining how the minority would be subject to vaporization techniques or deported to Africa. Vaporization, Jewish space lasers, I think, probably the best use of those. In the novel's final chapter, Max reads the plan over the telephone to a black nationalist named Minister Q. Dun, dun, dun. A stand-in for Malcolm X, you think? Urging him to revolt against the state. Max's discovery writes, in the final pages of the novel, gave form and face and projection to American racism. His worst suspicions were finally confirmed. Here's where it gets weird. Williams, the author, worked in PR for a time. He was a PR writer, wrote copy. And he wanted, as a way to promote this, he wanted the publisher to take out a full-page ad in the Times and put a page from the plan in there as, look what we found. Not saying it was an ad, not saying it was fake, not saying it was part of a novel, as sort of the early Batman things where they were just putting Batman symbols on, on billboards before you knew the movie was coming out, that kind of stuff. And so he wanted them to do this, and they were like, "Yeah, no, that's dangerous and lunatic,
like War of the Worlds stuff."
Yeah, exactly. It's going to drive people to shoot people, and no. Mm-hmm. And he got mad, so he asked for multiple copies of it. Of the pages to be printed by them, on cool paper. And he put them in manila envelopes and left them on New York subways and sent them to people like Dick Gregory and other, black activists that he thought were important. Again, not telling him that he had faked it. Not going, hey guys, this is part of my new novel. This is a little thing or whatever. If you want to kind of, no. And he mailed it out to everybody, and then, like I said, left them all over New York, like it was a 9 Inch Nails album on a thumb drive. And now that plan is referenced on the Rise of the Moors website. The Rise of the Moors, these people who blocked the road and claimed sovereign citizen, are claiming houses are for themselves as their own land, are referencing the reasoning for doing this is the King Alfred Plan. And this is this, by the way, the parallels between this and the sovereign citizens who believe that the prescience of Atlas Shrugged, and that there really is a hollowed out mountaintop in outside of Denver where people pay for stuff with gold coins like John Wick.
Oh boy.
It's a direct parallel with these two groups. And it's the amazing part, the big fear was that if they ever got together, and this is where we go, thank God for racism, because if both of these groups didn't hate each other at sight, we'd have to worry about it. So today, racism has done something good. It has separated multiple lunatic groups from joining together and overthrowing the government. I mean, wow. And these folks are armed, still around, and there's lots of them. Just so you know. But they're third on the list under the white supremacist groups. We'll be back. I found that third. I found that so fascinating.
How do you move up in ranks for that stuff? I guess people have to die.
I don't know that there is a rank. Yeah.
Well, you said that they're third on the list.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Volume. By the way, is Chicago waiting for us to stop talking?
Yeah, I thought you were going to. Have you gone
we're
to
already break. Yeah, you can go to break. It's fine. This is our behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. I wanted to go to break.
I was about to start swearing.
Yeah, right. No, not at all. Yeah, if the background music is playing and I say we'll be back, that means we're out on this thing. I can But yeah, the King Alfred story, like that, because I looked, I'm aware of a lot of these groups, right? I like over the years, especially the Bundy group and all their belief systems. When that came out, I kind of looked into where their beliefs came from. I myself have read Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. You're right, yeah. When do I have to gain a lot of weight?
Do I have entirely too much hair?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do I have to be on some sort of testosterone booster to be even considered? Supplement. Do I have to be getting TRT? Do I have to be getting TRT shots right in the left nut to be allowed to join the Bundy clan? And I do mean clan. So when they took over that BLM building, the Bureau of Land Management, not the Black Lives Matter movement. When they took that over, I was like, where the hell are they getting this stuff? Right? Where's this kind because the sovereign citizens, we know they're dumb and they roll around the country when they talk this crap all the time. But they're usually individuals, and they all read the same stuff Wesley Snipes said and went, I don't have to pay taxes. Like, there's an argument that that's where Wesley Snipes got his ideas from, the original Moorish stuff that was coming out. And it's not true. I briefly got into Ayn Rand's BS, unfortunately. Well, here's Robert saying that in his chat room. There are certain aspects of like uniform individuality and believing in yourself to a certain point and not making your life anyone else's responsibility. I find that resonates with a lot of people that read that stuff, and it certainly did with me, in the same way, though, that like a Tony Robbins book would, right? It's just the difference between Ayn Rand and like Awaken the Giant Within is that Ayn Rand makes it someone else's problem. Ayn Rand takes your individuality and your total responsibility for yourself and says the government has taken away my ability to be totally responsible for myself because of the welfare state or some shit. And it's just, it goes off into la la land. And that's how most lies work, is that they put in seeds of stuff like, that's appealing. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. what is this? There's 7 different sects of the Black Hebrew Israelites. One of my friend's husbands is one. His sect are making plans on going to the airport, giving tickets to Israel, and forcing people from their homes, claiming the land is theirs. It's absolutely insane, but they believe it. Yeah, and again, there's something to like, should foreign investors who have bought property and are just sitting on it in the United States, should Americans who were born here be able to claim that land as their own because the government doesn't have the right to sell it in other states to foreign government-owned entities operating through LLCs and stuff? So you take that and you go, yeah, there's something to that. Legally, you could probably fight that in court and win. And then you go to any white person's house is taking land from indigenous people. And by indigenous people, I mean me, not Native Americans. Like, these people understand, the Moroccan Moor folks believe that they predate Native Americans, and that they would do this. They would do this to the Navajo reservation. You understand what I'm saying? That they view the Navajo reservation or any of the Native American reservations as constructs of an illegal constitution, treaties written by a government that doesn't actually exist with another government that they don't recognize that's on land that's theirs. Like, holy hell, right?
Wow. That's some dedication.
Yeah, I mean, going there. Yeah, yes, and Christopher points out that Ayn Rand was on Social Security in her final days. She also listed her boyfriend as her husband so he could get government assistance as well. They were not married, but she said he was on paperwork so that he could get that stuff. So, colonizers.
Back in 20.
Yeah, the irony that these guys are colonizing the colonized colonizers, I guess. By the way, I have a chip on my shoulder about the colonizing language because everybody who uses it, none of them are handing the keys of their house to a Native American tribe. So if you're not willing to do that, I don't even know what that language means. It's like, it's the weirdest thing. Ask the Polish about
You're listening to the
German colonizers.
radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at houseparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Plus-face little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Now, I have to admit, I love me some conspiracy talk. I can get into that stuff. I can go into the deep reads of it and do the what ifs on it. But when push comes to shove, I'll basically operate in reality with my fellow citizens based on what I do know materially in the world. Like, murder's a crime, theft is a crime. You know, this is the world we live in, not the world you can, you know, there's no secondary utopia where this is actually a structured colony of Andromeda and aliens seeded us with apes and so everybody is, you know, is a direct descendant of the Andromedians or some stuff like that. I mean, it's a great conversation to sit around and play with people as they're pulling hits off bongs and you're the designated driver. But beyond that, I'm not gonna file my taxes based on it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to use that, no matter how, you know, much, like, one might have some weight here and there. I'm not just going to decide to go, you know what, your house is mine.
Yeah, you can't really like read off of the web page of your conspiracy theory and then end it with Your Honor.
Yeah, right, exactly. Which brings me to the legal troubles of the Trump organization this week. So, for those of you that have been under a rock, the New York AG, I guess, and SDNY, and one other organization, I think the Bronx AG as well, they filed charges against the Trump organization and Alan Weisselberg. And the idea that Alan Weisselberg
and every picture, every screen grab of Alan Weisselberg, he looks like a Star Wars emperor in the background, just looming over.
Yes, and he looks like
they are making him look villainous.
He looks like the stunt double for the guy who wears the top hat in the Monopoly game. You know what I mean? And there's a little bit of like, I can't pay the rent. You must pay the rent about him. You know what I mean?
You must pay the rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for him, I guess it would be, you must not pay the rent. We'll write it off. The government will pay our rent for us. So, 15-year scheme. They went back 15 years. And every single year, they found a constant and highly fraudulent attempt by them to not pay taxes on all kinds of stuff. And the manipulation of it. So not only did he not pay taxes on $1.7 million worth of perks, which, by the way, if that's just the perks, what's he getting paid? And is he being honest about that? Right? That's the other thing. That's where this goes. That's why this continues past that point, why they're looking at more charges. But it's not just that Alan Weisselberg was giving himself $1.7 million in free stuff on the Trump teat over the years. But that he was organizing how everyone else at the Trump organization, which is largely a family organization, while it has a bunch of subsidiary employees and LLCs and accountants and stuff, those are not the people we're talking about in regard to these charges. We're talking about Don Jr., Eric, their family members, Ivanka, Jared, that crowd, right? And over the years, if Alan Weisselberg, the CFO and comptroller of the Trump organization, is giving himself $1.7 million over the course of 15 years in taxable perks that he did not pay taxes on, the big charge, and what the Trump organization itself is charged with, is that he did that for himself and probably did the best job covering his tax tracks of anybody, since it was his job to do it. So you're in charge of, you're engaged in a criminal scheme to double dip. For example, Ivanka is getting a salary. She is a salaried employee of the Trump organization. She gets a salary. She's a salaried employee. She's a salary. I can't know how many. Dude, you go. She has a salary. She works for and is a salaried employee of the Trump organization. She also gets hundreds of thousands of dollars / millions of dollars over the years in consultant fees at a company she is salaried at, which is not legal. And the company is writing off her salaried stuff as consulting fees that they are not paying taxes on. So, that scheme is an obvious...
We'll call it some light tax fraud.
Yeah, we'll talk some millions upon millions and millionsies. Yes. Yeah, everybody's hungry for salad now because of how I said salaried. Yes, is she salaried? Yes, she is. I see people in the chat wondering. Yes, she's a salaried employee of the Trump organization. She also was paid consultant fees on all these things, and that should have been part of her salary. Or bonuses specifically to her salaried position, in which she would pay taxes based on her salaried position at the company. She was not, and she did not. And she's either going to find herself in a situation where civilly she's going to have to pay it back. And by the way, she has plenty of money to do it. More than likely, Ivanka and Jared will both settle this stuff out of court in a civil court, dealing with it on their own, going, we thought we were complying properly. That's their problem. Mm-hmm. We've got our own stuff. We made our own money outside they made somewhere in the order of $300 million during just the Trump years while they were in office. So they'll have money to pay the $20 million in back taxes and other stuff that they evaded because of what he was doing. Don Jr. and Eric probably snorted theirs. I have no evidence therein, allegedly. But it doesn't look like they have it. Nor does it look like Trump has it if he's the biggest recipient of this kind of shady stuff. Now, understand that Alan Weisselberg is the guy who coordinated all this stuff. He put it together. He's the guy who did the books. He's the guy in charge of the scheme to defraud the IRS, the tax board of New York, to never pay these taxes, and not only not pay these taxes, but on a corporate level say we deserve money back from the government for other taxes we paid because of this stuff. So we know we had to pay sales tax on these kind of things, and we know we had to pay, income tax on our employees up to a certain point. We want the income tax back from that because of other costs we accrued from consulting fees. See how that works? That's where it becomes a crime. That's not where you're forgetting to pay taxes on your perks. That's what Eric Trump, really screwed the pooch when he was on Fox this week. Here he is. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, these are employment perks. These are a corporate car, which everybody has. I guarantee you there's people on this network that have corporate cars. I guarantee you there's people in every company in the country that have corporate vehicles. This is what they're going after. This isn't a criminal matter. This is, it's really interesting, Raymond. After the financial crisis, right? They didn't.
By the way, I love how all of a sudden they're mad that the Bush Justice Department and all those folks when this was happening did nothing, and that in the recovery, Republicans stopped us from doing anything during the recovery. Like, if you want the recovery funds, don't go after Wall Street. But suddenly, they don't go after those guys, but they come after us. They go after everybody on this. I'm sorry. That's like somebody going, there's murderers down the street. You're busting me for holding this guy up at gunpoint? I haven't even shot him yet. Like, it's dumb. Like, this reasoning's always fun.
After a single person on Wall Street, despite the fact that these people were they took down the U.S. economy, but
yeah, because what they were doing was unfortunately legal at the time. What they did was change the law.
Now they'll go after somebody after fringe employment benefits. Is that really what the DA is focused on? Is little girls are getting shot in the middle of Times Square? They'll go after a corporate vehicle and a corporate apartment? Give me a break. And
by the way, a corporate apartment where they live all the time. Like, I've stayed in some corporate apartments in my life. They're called the Comedy Condo. The club owns it, and they put you up in it rather than pay a hotel. And then they use the investment that they have to pay for some stuff at the club, and it becomes a real estate investment of the owner of the club. And so it's dank, and it's like the worst Airbnb the crustiest, grossest, unclean Airbnb you've ever been in, that other comics sleep in to mess with, and they do stuff when they leave because they know who's coming through next week. Luckily, I'm well liked. So I was on the receiving end of some of the really bad pranks. But there are some guys who don't like each other, see each other on the poster, and the amount of excrement between the mattress and box springs should be enough. I mean, come on. So that's a corporate apartment. There's a lot of studios in Los Angeles that have corporate apartments so that when an actor moves into town to do a show, they stay in it for a while, but when the show gets canceled, they go. Or they go, well, when you get picked up for the second season, you got to find your own place because you're living here. But the first year, we'll give you this corporate apartment to live in because if you don't want to uproot. A lot of people won't take that kind of contract. I'm not going to move my whole house here and you're going to cut the show out from under me. Yeah. So you put that in as part of the perks, as it were. And it's not a perk. It's insurance against the failure of the business venture. These folks lived in it the whole time. Alan Weisselberg's son, Barry Weisselberg, that's who he's talking about, by the way. His ex-wife, Alan Weisselberg's ex-daughter-in-law, is the one who provided a lot of the paperwork. They live in the place. They still live in the place. It's not a corporate apartment. They live in New York. They don't live someplace else. They bought the second place to live on the money they made because they didn't have to pay for the house they live in New York, which is their primary residence. Their primary residence is tax-free, and they never paid for it. Like Epstein's $70 million mansion. It's the same stuff.
Honestly, I have to say the media has actually been very fair about this. The New York Times, so many of the different news outlets, they've literally said this isn't criminal. This isn't worth 50 investigators in a district attorney's office.
This would normally be a civil complaint.
Okay, so this would normally be a civil complaint. Yeah, it would. If it was just you didn't report them and you didn't, and you got caught not reporting it. Alan Weisselberg has been engaged in a decades-long conspiracy to intentionally defraud the federal government and the New York State Tax Board and banks and insurance companies, and has been shuffling money to do it. His version of the crime is petty because he knows it's going to come back to bite them at some point, and he only perked himself out at a level he could financially handle. He's going to write a check for his stuff. What he's going to go to jail for is coordinating the criminality that paid Ivanka, that paid John Jr., that paid Eric, that paid Donald Trump himself, the adult patriarch of the family and the leader of the whole business. That's what's happening. He's right about perks being a civil matter. What he's not right about is the fact that Alan Weisselberg is the guy who coordinated all that stuff. That's what he's going to get time on. Not his own tax liability, but his awareness of the criminality of it. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. This is the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Don't forget, patreon.com/Hal Sparks. Great way to support the show. And then, of course, you can sign up at infotainmentwars.com. Just go there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would help us out. We'll be back right after this. Do it.
Do it.
Do it. I have like the fan on it, and there's like one hair that's just in my eye, and I don't know what to do, and it's always it's one loose, and it will not. Yeah, well, somebody's saying perks over paychecks. Perks in lieu of paychecks. That's the criminality. Okay, scrolling through. Man, you saw the Gulf of Mexico fire video, right? I mean...
I don't think I did.
Really? Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Look up, just Google it right now. Gulf of Mexico fire pipeline. It looks, I mean, it's straight up. Like, I don't know how there aren't end times preachers just referencing this for the next 10 months, even though it lasted a day.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Eye of Fire. Yeah.
I mean, it looks like CG from a movie.
It kind of looks natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like an underwater
Like it could happen.
It looks like an underwater volcano, a close to the surface underwater volcano, which happens, right? It's not that weird. We've seen this before naturally occurring. Yeah, but pipelines are totally safe, y'all. Thanks, Jess. Right. I mean, the Keystone Pipeline would have been fine. It would have just gone all over all of our aquifers, and I'm sure nothing would have gone wrong. I mean, yeah. It looks like special effects in a movie. As a matter of fact, when
back in 10.
Thank you. When I saw it, I actually thought, like, this has got to be, like, this looks CG. Because it's such a small clip.
Right. There's boats spraying water on it.
Attention. Stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I'm getting used to him too.
Yeah, me too. I don't know where they end. And I have to say that Devin's mocking tone on all these is I'm curious. Did I skip out on lunch with Devin or something like that? Did I forget it was my turn
I don't know.
buy lunch?
That's just how he is, though.
Is it? Is it just? It's just his nature as a person.
Yes. Yeah. We never really know if he's being sarcastic or not. That's just who he is.
He's like the Dave Foley character in the Old Kids in the Hall sketch. Like, I'm not being sarcastic.
Yeah.
I've talked this way all my life. It's a speech impediment. I really want to talk to you. I'm so lonely. Right. It's one of my favorite. Sarcastic speech impediment sketch is one of the best. All right, so there, as we've been dealing with, the fallout of this, and by the way, my personal belief about Alan Weisselberg is that he knows the law better than anybody involved, meaning that everybody else, the Trump organization, doesn't know the law at all and just thinks they're in a protected class of people who really don't have to follow the law because they've never had it come for them before in their lives. They've never had to deal with it before. And so now you've got a situation where they're just being confronted with kind of even just the rudimentary base level of law. They got their charity shut down. Eric Trump cannot operate a charity in New York State because of the criminality involved, because he was diverting funds he was skimming off the top of a St. Jude's charity, which isn't necessary. Like, again, like when we talked about this, when it became a problem and he started yammering about it, I think it was last August or something. I've had a clip of him come across where he was complaining about the charity being shut down and explained it probably better than he ever had. And in his explanation of it, he's like, they're stealing money from St. Jude's. We raised money for St. Jude's all over the place. And in the end, you're like, why didn't you just send it to St. Jude's? Like, some people may know.
There's one way around this.
That I raise money with some regularity for Wild Horse Ranch Rescue, which is a great charity that saves wild horses and police and military horses that are going to be put down or made into French food. And they do this. They're a great organization, and I love them. And one of the ways that I suggest people do that is add Wild Horse Ranch Rescue to your Amazon Smile. So Amazon has this thing where you can use Amazon, but you use it through a charity portal called Amazon Smile. And a portion of the sales goes to that charity. And there's a bunch of ones. You can pick whatever one you want, but I always recommend people do Wild Horse Ranch Rescue. I don't recommend they send me money so that I can buy stuff on Amazon and use Amazon Smile myself for the stuff that they send me as my way of, and call it the Hal Sparks Wild Horse Rescue Service, right? That's what Eric Trump does. What if you want to raise money for St. Jude's? You know how you do it? You tell people to send money to St. Jude's. And now, especially, you can coordinate with St. Jude's or any other charity and go, hey, we're throwing this big fundraiser. Can you guys just show up with your little credit card swipers and your petition stuff and gather money? Just send a volunteer or two, or show us how to do it, and we'll they'll do it. We don't want to touch it. Just go off with it, right? Just do that. We're raising money for you. We'll pay the costs of the ball. We'll pay it's at Mar-a-Lago. But what they were basically doing is skimming charities to pay for their hotels. And so they charge the charity a premium for a thing that they didn't even ask, skim it off the top, and it's gross. I do cancer research. Yeah, exactly. I'm doing some cancer research. Send me some money, and I'll send 80% of it to a cancer research charity. It's just so, that's what, yeah. Eric was charging kids for their own seating. Yes, at cancer kids. Like, it just gross. You had to pay for the table to be there. It's gross. He's a gross dude. And this is the same, this is a level of criminality. That's why they lost it. This is normal, though. If a charity does this, no state has to put up with that. And it undermines people's belief in supporting charities. So, no. Same thing with the Trump organization. This is rudimentary criminality. But it's gone to a RICO level because of Alan Weisselberg being aware that it's a crime and engaging in a family business where they were doling out cash to people who weren't earning it, or so in ways that they didn't have to pay taxes on it. That's what the problem's gonna be. And it's why, by the way, that the Trump organization is going to lose their business license in New York State. That's what this is going to result in for the Trump organization. Trump knows this. He knows the criminality. It's why he moved to Florida. It's why he's moving his business to Florida. Because he believes that Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, won't mind if he engages in this kind of criminality in Florida. He can do this kind of state-level double-dipping in his filings there, and Florida will just let it slide because he's one of the rich elites in Florida. That's his belief. And if he's gotten assurances from anybody in the government in Florida, that in and of itself is sketchy as hell. Now, if DeSantis loses, another governor comes in, recognizes there's a hole in their budget where that money should be, and decides to go after it, that's another story entirely. But that's how, arguably, he can argue, I don't have to pay those taxes. I was assured I wouldn't have to by the governor when I moved in, and use the Cosby Clause in this situation. And we haven't spoken since Cosby got let out.
Yeah, talking about Cosby Clause, it's like Santa Claus.
Right. Well, the Cosby Clause, for those of you that don't know, is the fact that the DA was in I guess either trying to put himself in a stronger position or was trying to help or assist the civil cases against Bill Cosby, assured Bill Cosby that he would not be charged based on anything that he said anything he admitted to in the civil case. So, Bill Cosby admitted to all of the stuff in the civil case, paid $3 million, and the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania said, well, yeah, then the guy after you charged him on that stuff, when you promised him he wasn't going to be charged, he gave up his Fifth Amendment rights, you got to let him go. Which is,
It's maddening.
Yeah, it's maddening, but it's within the letter of the law. And it's that guy's fault. It's not the system. It has nothing to do with our system of justice in this country. That guy made assurances in a civil case that he had no right to make to Bill Cosby and his lawyers, and it ended up getting him let out of jail on a technicality. That's the antithesis of how the system is supposed to work. The DA is supposed to stay out of civil cases because of that very reason. Yes, and it was one of the Trump impeachment lawyers. I mean, they all run in the same circles. The Epstein, Dershowitz, Trump, Cosby circle of goons. This is, at this point, I don't know how you don't see that coming. And you certainly, maybe it's just that you got him on the counts against her. It's time for the other people that he wasn't charged with to go after him. That's got to be... I wouldn't be celebrating too much if I were he, but at the same time, that means that after all that, the other victims who now felt some sense of justice was served, even though they didn't have to go through the court process, now have to make this horrifying decision about going back and going through this nonsense, and heartbreak and themselves, and then talking about their own trauma again. Because this guy was this DA was meddling in a civil case instead of focusing on the criminal case, which he knew he could get a conviction on. And in that, it doesn't help. Yeah, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. What was that? Hold on. Oh, okay. So, yeah, we got Haberman's back in.
And what's Haberman doing?
She just talked. She's the Trump whisperer. Apparently, Trump can't get enough of telling her what's up. There's some spin from one of his advisors earlier this week about how he is quote unquote thrilled. He's not thrilled. I don't think he's throwing staplers, but he's not happy. It's not something he's talking about constantly as fury, but this is not where they want to be. This is a totally new world for Trump. I think that what you would have seen the former president and his advisors and members of family and allies is that they have conflated legal problems with public relations problems for so long. I think some are losing sight of the fact that this is actually an indictment. The reality is Alan Weisselberg is facing potential jail time, and that can change things. Was the indictment part of the president's regular TV viewing yesterday? The former president was definitely watching the news conference, and one of the things people don't understand about how he watches television is it isn't just glued to the box. He often has it on the background and looks up and looks at things. The TV is often on, and he is well aware of the coverage yesterday. So he basically just had it on in panic mode. And he watches CNN because he knows they have the real scoop. Like he always tells,
Right.
Hannity told him in that interview that he was watching a... Oh, are they frozen? Stream not good? It's moving on my side, but it is definitely choppy. Oh, it's probably the site. So, hold on. Yeah, do this. Close this. So hopefully... Close that window. And see if, it smooths things out a little bit. Sorry.
We're back in 20.
Thank you. Okay, I'll do that later. Right, okay. I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And then a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Yeah, it is. Are you ready? Sorry. You left out.
Captain's log.
And
we're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges. Michigan gave us Motang.
All right. So to the Motang clan and Sparks Force that are joining us today in the chat rooms across it.
Michigan gave us Motang.
Don't forget. All right. So we have, as I've been, watching, this stuff unfold in terms of Trump's legal problems, and we were just reading during the break that Maggie Haberman is, the Trump whisperer, has been talking to his advisors, and she says he's not at where he's throwing staplers, but he's definitely afraid and furious, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But the sort of fantasy land that they live in, that this is just, if we can talk crap about people long enough, they'll drop their case against us because of the optics, because they don't want to look like they're going after New York business, because New York business has always been shady as hell, right? And there's a certain level of, like, between the DA and the press and SDNY and all that, they've always had to kind of shuffle around the fact that, like, if we pull at this thread, the whole thing's coming down.
Yeah.
And so they've avoided going after some of the worst of the worst, except in case of, Rudy Giuliani, where he went after the Italian crime families so that he could open up many fields for the Russian and Chinese mob to move in. How lovely of him.
Many fields.
And there's no, why would you think there's a quid pro quo there when there's security contracts to be had by pro-Russian puppets in Ukraine and Europe, all over Europe afterwards, that Rudy Giuliani took advantage of after 9/11? Why would you even think such a thing? So over the last, couple of weeks, as we've watched this kind of vacillation between, if Eric and Don Jr. get out there and go, guys, these are guys, come on, guys, it's terrible what they're doing, these are adorable. I don't know why everybody in that family is getting soprano voice really bad. I don't get it. Like,
I wonder why.
They like zero to Godfather. Everybody goes to, like, it's like they were all, they're all the bastard sons of an adjunct side joke from Andrew Dice Clay. They all the Trump kids somehow talk like that. I'm not quite sure why, except Ivanka, which she's got a deeper baritone. It's nice. The reason they think this is, before it worked because of just kind of the general page 6 level optics. Now they have an army of right-wing nutcases that some folks are just afraid will kill them. That some of the worries are now about death threats. If you come out against Trump, you vote against him in the impeachment, for example, get ready for, this barrage of death threats, overt and covert and subverted from his entire crowd. That's now beyond just kind of I want to run for office and there's going to be crowds of people that like this other guy are going to show up and it'll be hard to get my message out, and I'll just, the return on investment on going after this guy is kind of marginal. It's going to cost us more money than the city will make, and even though he's a criminal, do we really, all that stuff. Now they're worried about their own personal January 6th showing up on their doorstep. And the Tucker Carlsons of the world and the Sean Hannitys of the world are making it worse. They are they are actively involved in driving up this conspiratorial thought. Again, with the talk this week where, for those of you that didn't follow the 2-day fadangle that happened between the NSA and Tucker Carlson, is that he claimed, according to a whistleblower, that the NSA was reading his emails. That was a quote. And on his show, he said the National Security Agency is reading our emails, meaning the show, and that they are planning on leaking emails from it to get his show taken off the air. Which the NSA deals with foreign problems, just like the CIA. Foreign terrorist threats, foreign criminal threats, and foreign threats in general against the United States. If there's a plot by a government, that counts too. Leading up to war, that kind of stuff. So over the course of, their job, they would only come across Tucker Carlson's things, emails, if, and let me put this, hypothetically, if Tucker Carlson had a white supremacist as his head writer, hypothetically, on his show,
just in case,
or several of them that wrote on sites like Stormfront and neo-Nazi websites, Holocaust denying stuff, anti-black, anti-LGBTQ kind of stuff all the time, nonstop, is like a habit, as a thumb-clicking habit, and some of them, while some of them worked on his staff, also had compatriots in, say, the far-right neo-Nazi movement in Germany, let's say, hypothetically. And hypothetically, they introduced those folks to Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson was emailing those folks directly, who are being watched by Interpol in conjunction with the NSA and other national security organizations for Germany and other European groups, because they're watching for the rise in Nazi allied groups. And hypothetically, Tucker Carlson was going back and forth with some of them, and in that, the NSA and CIA and the Interpol and NYPD and other groups had people posting as people in those groups for intel, and stumbled across a bunch of emails they got on an email tree with Tucker Carlson and the next Grand Wizard Duke Dragon of the, whatever their organization is, in Germany, planning on the next Oklahoma City bombing. And they found those emails. And somebody in that organization who may either be a CI, a confidential informant, who's not really allied with them but sells that stuff, might decide, I could sell this stuff to another news organization as a source, make a lot of money, and what a story. And if you're Tucker Carlson, you might get a whiff that one of the guys that used to be in the group, hypothetically, is no longer there and might be a confidential informant that might have been working all over the world in terms of outing right-wing white nationalist supremacy neo-Nazi groups. And he might have a lot of emails when they were, pen-paling. And he might be aware that that stuff is coming out. And so he comes out and he goes, the NSA is spying on me. And not spying on me, spying on us, the show, on Tucker Carlson tonight. Right. And that the NSA comes out and goes, he's never been a target of the NSA, and we're not interested, nor do we have any plans to take his show off the air, nor would we. And everybody's going, they didn't say they weren't reading his emails. They said he's never been a target. Which would be the allegation that Tucker Carlson made. They are answering his allegation. He said they are reading our emails and trying to get our show taken off the air, meaning his show, meaning that we are a target. They are targeting us. The NSA decided to target us, and they are reading our emails and planning on leaking stuff to get our show taken off, because that's what they want. The NSA is full of wokes, because that's who's in there. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's absolutely, and they've been there forever. The deep state wokesters. They all got in somewhere in Reagan and re-upped their wokeism during Bush, during the torture memos, and they've been in there ever since. And they've really had it with Tucker Carlson. And so over the course of many decades, they've decided he's the one they need to take out, and they're spying on him directly. His accusation was they're spying on him directly. Their answer was, we're not spying on him directly, and we have no interest in doing so. He might have been scooped up in other stuff. Part of it should be more of a concern, one would think, for Tucker Carlson, because every time Tucker Carlson brings up who he was talking to in the emails, he doesn't mention them. He doesn't mention who or what the subject matter would be, or why indeed any of his leaked emails. And remember, you can't leak a lie. I'll stand by my belief that all of the Hunter Biden stuff you've seen is a lie, that it's all manufactured, it's deep fakery, or they took, real emails and added text to them to further, this narrative or whatever, because there's no corresponding truth about it. And Hunter Biden's not saying, that's my stuff, I really said that. So that's where that is right now. That's where it sits. But Tucker Carlson just said they're going to leak some stuff. So Tucker Carlson is admitting already, ahead of it, that whatever stuff comes out from emails, wherever that source may come, even if he claims it's the NSA, wherever it comes from, is, in fact, true. That's why he's using the word leak. So he's getting out ahead of what he sees as a leak coming down the pike. It might have been why Fox has been punting him to the Fox Nation website and slowly moving his site there. Also, their ratings have been in the trash lately post-Trump because they were wrong about all of it. So they're down like 70%. And all news is down after Trump because news shouldn't be beating fiction in the ratings game. It should always be the stuff you watch when you have to. And anytime you have to watch the news, anytime you're white-knuckling the news every day, that's bad. That's a bad sign for society. That's like when you go and they go, consumer spending is way up. And it's a good sign for the economy. Yeah, what are they spending it on? Antidepressants and facelifts. Oh, okay, well then that's not necessarily a good sign, right? The same thing is true for the news. If there are times when you need to go check out the news. Oh my God, throw on CNN. Oh my God, throw on MSNBC. Oh my God, throw on Fox. Whatever your source is. But if you're having to do that every day, and that's what the Trump years were. It was a white knuckle presidency most of the time because even Fox didn't know if he was going to blow everything up. And so every day people are rolling over, like checking Twitter to see if he denied rights to some other group of Americans all of a sudden, or if there was another battlefield that opened up in all these other areas we had to fight, right? And so in terms of, Trumpism, that was a bad sign as far as society goes. That if you have to worry about this stuff all the time, and the fact that we've had a bunch of stories like the story about the Moorish folks on the highway and those kind of, and there's a pipeline that we're dealing with that was a day in there, and then the Trump organization was indicted on charges of, of tax fraud and criminality. That's all normal news from like 1997. Yep. That's a good sign. I started this show because I'm a wonky type, and we started talking about the Affordable Care Act years ago, which has remained largely bulletproof throughout the years. And I read the whole thing. I read it, and I was willing to go on, Steph's show and explain it to people, me and Jackie Schechner, who didn't understand what was in it, so that you could fight for what you wanted, but not fight against what you were, what you might not want later, and that kind of stuff. Because that's how rights that apply equally to everybody, that's how they work. You're not going to enjoy them all the time because they have to apply to people you don't like and aren't like you. And the form of tribalism that's come up under Trump in the last few years specifically, and the freak out when Obama got elected on the right wing that led directly to Trump being a representative of them, that's all come from this idea that the tree of liberty is something you pluck from and run from your own. That diversity is as I believe, is the root of our strength, not the fruit of our strength. The fruit of diversity is everybody gaining from it everybody sharing
Right.
equally amongst themselves.
Thank you.
Not like I'm going to grab it and run off to my camp again because this was my part, and therefore I'll keep my part from everybody else. That's unhealthy in a democracy especially, but in society as a whole, and certainly amongst human beings. So anyways, we've got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Patreon.com/HouseSparks. Help us out. Come on, it's not that hard. You can
Come
do
on.
it. Just do
What
it.
are you doing?
Patreon.com. Come on.
You're listening right now.
Yeah, you're listening right now for free. You're enjoying it. Come on. Hey, Richard. Anti-tribalism is a bad word that's been anti-indigenous by design. No, that would sort of be anti-indigenous that somehow indigenous people are the only ones that had tribes. I mean, the German.
Yeah, that one actually gets me.
There were German tribes, and Swiss tribes, and tribes of Vikings. It's a word for groups of human beings, mainly prehistoric.
I will be right back, Mr. Hell.
Do what you got to do. I will switch over to a me shot. I think it'll work. Will it work? Yeah, there you go. So, who has 2 more STDs down here, Melania? Yeah. Moorish would be indigenous black people. Yes, but not to here, which is very weird. I mean, it's funny. Lizard brain gives us tribalism. Yeah. Indigenous folks are offended. How perhaps you should be more sensitive. Which ones? And is that in and of itself a form of tribalism? I mean, we're a democracy where you could still have your tribe, but we all operate together. The tribalism is an idea that the best version of reality is that we're all separated. Tribalism is another word for segregation. And so if you're, I would imagine that pro-segregationists would be upset. I mean, it's not that, I mean, tribalism isn't unique. Tribes themselves are not unique just to American indigenous people or North American indigenous people. I mean, yes, I know, Johnny.
Back in 20.
He's back. Johnny's back with us.
Johnny back.
Yeah.
Johnny back.
He's back. That's
Hey,
right.
which wireless unit do you use, Hal?
I use the Line 6 one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Why?
Because I've been using this Shore one.
Oh yeah. I have that for my headset.
Welcome back to
okay.
the Hal Sparks
For
Radio
my
program,
live
Mega
head
Worldwide.
mic.
It's now time for the
Yeah.
happy ending. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! And the I was kind of edging at the story, that is the happy ending in a lot of ways, is the sort of normalizing of news over the last little bit. We are,
yeah.
the cyber attacks that are happening are certainly concerning. This deals with, something that's an aspect of modern age. It's something, there's a learning curve that's going to happen.
It could have happened during the Obama administration.
That's right.
This it's just like it's news. It's the struggle, the day-to-day push and pull.
That's right, and it's something that you need to be aware of, especially if you're in one of these businesses or or you haven't been hit yet, and yet you need to learn from what they're. Nice,
Yeah.
Bicycle Michael. Tell them I said hi, and I use all their gear all the time.
But does someone work with Line 6?
Yeah. Bicycle Mike in there. Report the concerning part. And the leftover, and we're kind of edging out of the white knuckling of the Trump era to where it's hilarious, right? It's quite, his gathering in Wellington, Ohio, which happened after our show last time as well, was adorable. People left early. It was the same stuff. He's repeating the same story. He's become kind of a cross between the Glory Days football guy sitting at the end of the bar, going,
If they just given me the ball.
If they'd have just given me the ball, man. Laces out.
Or like
somewhere,
Napoleon Dynamite.
Right. So, in the, the remnants of Trumpism, we find sort of the biggest concern is the flailing last grasp of those folks is going to be dangerous. So the concern with, the rise in white supremacist militias in the United States is directly tied to the fact that they feel like their power is slipping. And in their reaction to that, Trump losing when he was supposed to have won, that the idea that it was stolen and rigged and da-da-da, and Trump has to say that forever. I mean, now he sounds like, Biff Tannen after he lost the big game. And it's always, it's always somebody else's fault. And there's a danger to him repeating it 5 or 10 times. It's helpful now that he belligerently inserts it into everything. The ridiculousness of it is actually, actually pushes back against any genuine belief by anybody around him. And the fact that you've got Greg Abbott and people like that sitting next to him at his gathering at the border, nearing the gap in his wall, this week kind of like twiddling their thumbs, waiting for them to, all right. We'll see, all right, wait, he's on this kick. Well, I'll find a moment to interrupt him in a second. And that Fox is turning off the feed and moving away. Not because they don't have a bunch of viewers that don't believe it. But that those viewers just get angry and when they're watching it, and that's all they want to hear about. It's just brutal. So anyways, we obviously had the story about the collapse of the building in Florida, a building that was built before some of the hurricane adjustments that have been made over years, otherwise known as building regulations, something that Donald Trump specifically patted himself on the back repeatedly for getting rid of, the kind of things you need. And, a lot of regulations outlived their usefulness. And so the Obama administration had this, rule where they're going to go through and broom out any of the useless ones and kind of update regulations, because that's what you really do. You don't get rid of 2 and put in 1. You update regulations around the reality of it because you learn more as you go along, especially when it comes
tired
to
of this one though.
Which one?
Probably do something different.
Oh yeah, the regulations. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the case of, this particular group, like the Republican idea that we need to get rid of regulations, that regulations are the problem, that it's government overreach and it costs too much money, that the simplifying or clarifying of regulations is something you should and always seek to do. But it's not sexy. It's one of those things where it comes into the normal news order of things. We updated the regulations on building codes, and here they're posted at City Hall. That's what news should look like about this kind of stuff. Anybody who has any say in it should come down to the City Hall meeting or talk to the Army Corps of Engineers or whatever the project they're dealing with and go, I have some concerns about this cost versus, benefit analysis. And, I think we're overdoing it. This is not a real concern. We should be focused on these kind of things. And that's the level of news it should be. What the Republicans need to make it about, and what they always seem to make it about, is that government in and of itself is horrifying. Somebody just put in here, defunding the EPA, for example. That getting rid of anybody who looks is the issue. Get rid of the building inspectors. It's all graft anyways. Get the idea that right now, thanks to the petrochemical rules that the Republicans put in for years and have never been able to be purged, and will be over the next couple of years, by the way, and this burning thing in the Gulf might point in that direction, is that dumping containers of waste in the ocean, your maximum fine for that is $25,000 a day. But the waste you're seeking to get rid of costs you $150,000 a day to bury somewhere, using proper regulations. So it's cheaper to just pay the fine. So they just take the ships out and dump it in the ocean.
Yep. Instead
of, no, you're going to jail. That's when that changes. That's when, okay, you do it once, $25,000 fine, we caught you, don't do it again. You do it twice, you're going to pay double the fine. The third time, the people who run the company, who signed off on this, go to jail and stay there. Because that's the cost-benefit analysis that they will understand. And that's where a regulation, Flint water is a great example. Somebody's just bringing up,
yes.
That knowing, once you know that it has caused damage to, you know that the lead levels are going up. That's the moment where where the criminality clock starts ticking.
Yep.
Before you can claim ignorance, and then you pay a fine, and you were playing ducks and drakes with an entire, system of water.
Yeah, it's not like doing the lawsuits with seatbelts thing.
Right. You can back out of it on your own mistake. But the importance of it is once you recognize that the damage is being done, and you're aware of that damage, that's when the jail time has to start in terms of those kind of regulations. And by keeping those kind of corporate regulations always shy of jail time when it comes to especially pollution and the like, which is why they're fighting the Green New Deal concepts, why they're fighting climate change stuff, is because they know eventually where it leads to is massive polluters are gonna go to jail. It's not gonna be about carbon costing them money or the cost of energy or any of that. Solar and wind has outpaced the cost per kilowatt benefits of fossil fuels for a couple of years now. It's officially recognized by the government as being so. What they're worried about is they're going to start hooking people up. The Alan Weisselbergs of pollution are going to see the inside of a courtroom. That's a concern, and that's what I'm looking forward to. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio. We'll see you next time. Don't forget, like and subscribe, infotainmentwars.com. Thank you, Johnny Million. Thank you, Devin. Thank you, everybody at CPT. We'll see you next time.
I feel sorry for all the radio listeners that couldn't see me flail about at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Great show, guys. See you next week.
You.
Bye, Hal.
See you next
Appreciate
week.
it.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. There's a wonderful conversation happening in the chat room that I'm catching in the middle of it. Do we have a?
I'm in desperate need of a nap because I've got to go play a show in 3 hours.
Oh, right on. Where are you playing?
At the Naperville Salutes. It's
all right.
Yeah, it's like a veteran appreciation thing.
That's awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What organization is it the ACDC group? Is it?
No, this is Convoy. I've been out
Convoy.
of the ACDC group for a long time.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, since it's been a year, it's hard to tell what's, some stuff
Right,
is coming back.
exactly. Yeah, I had my first rehearsal with Convoy on Wednesday, and now
right.
Yeah. So now
I've got
I've
got a Nerd Halen rehearsal this week too.
Yay.
Same kind of day because we have an August 1st gig. So, anyways, love you.
Time.
I know. I agree. All right, we'll see you later. And I'm going to Steel Panther tonight.
Oh,
so,
that's
yeah,
a blast.
See them. Yeah. So
have fun.
All right. Have fun. Bye. Bye. See you later. Yay. Hi. So sorry. Did we end up with do we end up with Moorish Sovereign Citizens group in the chat room? Is that what happened? Folks are at 90% of life and still want to wrestle. Yeah, it's true. By the way, to everyone in the chat room, whether I agree with you or disagree with you, I see your humanity, and it's going to be okay. Everybody's, as Albert Pike said, everyone's entitled to their own unique mistake, including me, including you. And that's, if you hold to that all the time, you can have honorable discussions about nearly anything. So there. Nerd Halen at First Avenue would be beautiful. I would love that. Oh my God, that would be so fun. I thought I was almost going to shut off my streaming software by accident. Has anybody seen the President Show finale on Comedy Central? I have not. Thanks, Jason. religious people want to be around other religious people. That's entirely possible. Yeah, it depends on the religious people, I suppose. Thanks, Alan Johnny. Any thanks for jalapenos? Thank you guys. Thank you for the super chats today and the support, you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you to our patrons. Patreons assemble. Appreciate it a lot. And Avenue Q, right? How weird was that? I didn't read that until we were on the, we were doing on the air about the Minister Q dude. That the Malcolm X character in that guy's book that the Sovereign Citizens group is using. That was amazing to me. That he ended up like Minister Q. How is that not a thing? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the vast majority of the Qs are white and they're Trumpies, so it's not like they're going to be reading a black nationalist's screed from the 60s. I mean, technically. But and if they did have that, they'd be like, oh, good Lord. The Gulf Fire looks like the Eye of Sauron's vacation home. It's true. You should have seen your face. I know. I almost want to roll back. It's the real Q. Oh, no. I have seen Q, and he's black. Eek! Oh, it's white. She can't stand. Yo, that's right. When did I get a dog? I did not get a dog. That dog is my buddy. That's Mark Savard's dog. We were just over there. And that he's got Apollo and Artemis. Nerd Halen's at the Hard Rock here in Vegas. I think it's the Hard Rock. Anyways, they're here in Vegas. They will be there. Yeah. Minister Q is on flank. Yeah. He's got his own. He's a blue check mark. Minister Q is a blue check mark on flank. Yeah, it's a very fast show on Saturdays, especially. Alan, you think you might be coming to Michigan? I don't know, Jill, but as soon as as we're back on the road that way, we will be in Grand Rapids. I will definitely be outside of Detroit. Yeah. Yes, summer works with Mark. That's right. I know that, and he was licking me, just bow. He just licked the roof of my mouth. He got like this ninja tongue. It was terrible. I'm gonna start doing the little YouTube stories just so I can post on there because it now starts, it's working, whatever. But any dates for live shows in Chicagoland? We don't have stand up there yet, but I am working with CPT on a show get together where I do the show live. So we'll work out where that is. We've done that before. At this pizza place that they have, but I want to do it at the center on Halstead would be nice. There's a couple of places, so yeah. But I'll let you know as we get it, as they start cranking up. And like I said, the next show is the 18th at Flappers, which keeps getting punted around. Bless their hearts, they're having trouble staffing. I do come to Indiana, to Indianapolis. To be more polite, it's like Hal's Garage. It kind of is. I'm just reading through the chat at this point, and I'm a little behind you guys, as always happens. I will be doing lots of stand-up, and there will be some Sexy Liberal dates, so keep an eye on sexyliberal.com. There's going to be 2 of them at least this fall, and then there's going to be more in the spring. I would like to do more of them. I know Steph wants to do fewer. I feel like John and Frangela and I could go on the road more often, and Steph could do like a video thing from home if she doesn't want to come with us or something. Yes, I do. I've done Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I just did that right before it was one of the last shows I did before the pandemic. Yeah. Let's see. Flappers live show will be streamed. Yes, I will be. Yes, I will be streaming the Flapper show as well. Yes. Yes, and August 1st, Nerd Halen and Gacy DC will be at the Echo in Los Angeles. It's going to be very exciting. I'm very excited. All right, so have a great 4th of July weekend. Go, cook something. Celebrate the fact that we can all argue in this place freely and, and recognize those freedoms today. Take a break from the warts and all part of the discussion to show that you're capable. And then, yes, and live streaming my Sunday shows when I'm doing stand-up. Have a good 4th of July. Learn how to look at the bright side of all things when they come up. You don't celebrate Christmas by complaining about, the Catholic Church scandals or, that kind of stuff. Like, if you have to develop your ability to be the thing you want to see in the world. And if gripey, complainy, sad, and miserable and anxious is what you exude to the world, no one will follow you. No one will believe that your way is the way. I don't know how strongly I can stress that to folks. I said, earlier, like a couple days ago on Twitter, I lose track at this point because everything overlaps in this thing, that if you are bitter and anxious and angry, then that's what people will believe, not about you as a person, but about the path you are espousing. Avoid any Christian who isn't smiling and doing good work in the community would be the argument. Anybody who's like, God, I'm a Christian, I'm like, I don't buy it. And you're certainly not going to convert anybody in that case. The same thing is true of any activism. If you're not converting people, if they're not agreeing with you or understanding your point of view, or you're just buttressing your angle and it's all fight, 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 then you're not an activist. At best you're a revolutionary, without a cause. So anyways, yeah. I appreciate you guys, and just, you don't have to take everything I say as rote. Factor it into your thinking. That's all I will ever ask of you. I will never assert things and call you wrong for what you're thinking. But when I speak about my feelings, my ethics, my morals, my belief systems about any of this stuff, I will give you the truest form of it. And all I ask is that you absorb it in the context of everything else that I say and recognize if it just triggers an enemy reflex in you, or if it doesn't match up somehow, then maybe it's in your misunderstanding of what I'm saying, or you can just say you're wrong about that thing and we disagree, and that's fine too. That's how it works, and that's the beauty of it. That's what democracy is for. That's what it is, and that's what I support. So anyways, take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. I will see you guys on Monday. Yes. All right. Bye.
God bless America. Oh yeah, guess who's gonna be in Sarasota today? Oh yeah, the big homie. God bless America. Yeah. God bless America.